It goes down in history as being one of the biggest things to come out from under the Disney animation umbrella. And while many of those other great animations from the past have struggled to stay relevant in a new generation, mostly thanks to Disney themselves, Nightmare Before Christmas has over-exceeded that. How is this Disney brand so successful with only one movie to its name? So Disney has been very adamant with their movie franchises. They're either leaving them to be forgotten and die off, or they're trying to milk it for everything it's worth, even if it's been consistently doing badly. At this point in time, post-2020, I'm talking about mostly Marvel and Star Wars. While Disney made the largest media purchases we'll probably ever see in this lifetime by purchasing Marvel, Star Wars, 21st Century Fox, even Hulu, lately the output for Star Wars and Marvel has not been matching their investment. When it comes to selling merchandise and tickets to their theme parks now, you can see how much effort they're putting into Marvel and Star Wars. It seems that Disney is putting most of their focus these days on brands that they've acquired over the years. And if they're not pushing Star Wars, Marvel, or Hulu, they're pushing crappy nostalgia bait through the appeal of live-action remakes. How long did Lilo and Stitch sit there for Disney to remember they had it and start trying to do something with it? When they first started doing the live action thing, Disney seemed fully invested, but they never really hit the same as the animation did. And right now, there are live action remakes that they've done that I've already forgotten about, like Mulan and Beauty and the Beast. If they were truly interested in preserving these old movies and rebooting them in live action, they could just make an amazing miniseries out of them. But they don't. Let's just whip up a movie and call it a day. The point is, modern day Disney struggles to maintain the original IPs that they already have while they're going out of their way to buy more IPs. This is why we see a lot of their more imaginative movies that grew a cult following, like Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis, even Lilo and Stitch until recently, fall by the wayside. No big sequel, no new merchandise. If Disney's not interested in doing anything with it, then nothing will happen. But there is one example of a Disney product that, despite Disney's neglect over the years, has had massive success, giving its fans what they want and helping to establish the very fabric of modern pop culture, largely without Disney's involvement. The one and only A Nightmare Before Christmas. One movie from 1993 that Disney probably regrets not being more involved with from the beginning.
What's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's white things in the air.
Known for its imaginative visual style and whimsical tone, this iconic gothic stop-motion musical fantasy started as a 3-page poem that Tim Burton wrote back in 1982 while he worked as an animator for Disney. A career most young animators could only dream about having, but Tim Burton obviously was built different. He studied TV Christmas specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and inspired to make his own version of a TV Christmas special. With the success of his 80s short film, Vincent, on top of already being an employee, he definitely had Disney's attention for any future ideas. And while Burton showed interest in developing his gothic Christmas poem into an animation, like maybe as a 30-minute TV special like Frosty the Snowman or How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it wasn't until 1990 that he arranged a deal with Walt Disney Studios. But after production, Disney was thinking, oh, this would be too dark and scary for kids. So they'd release under a more adult-oriented production label they had called Touchstone Pictures. Tim Burton was in this weird middle ground with Disney of being obviously a successful filmmaker with what he did in the 80s, but they were too afraid to take a risk with him in animation, like Warner Brothers did with him in regular film. If they were truly confident in what this movie could be, they would have just released it under their "This is an official Walt Disney Studios animation" label, but they didn't. It took the Walt Disney Studios chairman, Jeffrey Katzenberg, to tell Disney to give this guy a chance. It'd be a creative achievement either way, and they can show the world how the studio is pushing the boundaries of animation, just like how they pushed it in 1988's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The budget for Nightmare Before Christmas was somewhere between 18 and 24 million. By today's usual budget standards, it seems like nothing. And while having its wide release just a few days before Halloween 1993, it did well in the box office. Now, technically being a Halloween movie was just icing on the cake compared to how well the movie was just made in general. It already stuck out with its stop motion, a painstakingly unique form of animation that dates back to photographs and silent film. But then you had the colors, the cinematography, the voice acting, the music. Danny Elfman was in charge of the music for this movie, even being the singing voice of the protagonist, Jack Skellington.
I can't believe my eyes. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack. This isn't fair.
Together, now and forever.
And claimed it was all very natural and easy for him to do.
His schizophrenic nature is much like my own in terms of talking himself into stuff.
I mean, it probably was for a guy behind songs like Dead Man's Party and Weird Science. As an actual musician with a band called Oingo Boingo, Elfman has been working with Burton on pretty much everything he's produced since the Pee-wee's Big Adventure movie in the 80s. Pee-wee himself, Paul Reubens, was even part of Nightmare 2 as one of the voices. This movie had great chemistry and production value from the very beginning. The only thing was Tim Burton himself not being the director, since he was busy in 1991 with Batman Returns. But like Batman Returns, Nightmare Before Christmas also had a gothic Christmas tone. So the spirit of Burton and Batman was always there. The movie's animation was so innovative at the time that it was nominated for a Best Visual Effects Oscar, right next to Jurassic Park. By 1994, it had already proven success with over $100 million in the box office, and now it was proving good home video sales, and thus achieved the term of being a cult film. It was right up there with Jurassic Park in animation. So the difference, I guess, between Nightmare's cult film and Jurassic Park's blockbuster film is how the studio leads didn't expect the cult film to be successful, while the blockbuster film was a given. Nightmare Before Christmas released in DVD format in 1997 and in 2000 as a special edition. And this was around the time its cult film popularity really started spreading, as this was around the time the internet as we know it, Web 3.0, was starting. This was the time chat forums, JPEGs, and GIFs were coming up. More people were getting computers and people were able to start talking online about whatever. Anyone remember AOL and MSN? Well, at some point into this new era of technology, I assume The Nightmare Before Christmas came up in conversations pretty often. In 2001, given the continued success rate of home video sales, Disney, of course, was considering a sequel, and Burton would rightfully shoot those ideas down. As the creative mind behind it, he's very protective of it and wanted to keep the purity of what it was. Throughout the late 90s, early 2000s was the big DVD boom, and a lot of old movies and TV shows were coming back into the limelight. New fans were being made, old fans were finding each other, and pop culture was really starting to bubble up into what it is now. DVDs, especially with Nightmare Before Christmas, was showing a never-before-seen side to the movie with behind-the-scenes extras, director's commentary, and such, making the whole thing a brand new experience even for people who've already seen the movie. And with pop culture bubbling up in this time, you also had the popularity blow up of the retail store Hot Topic, which has always been known for selling for the alternative culture, starting with more nu metal music type marketing to the mid-2000s focus of scene, emo, and punk culture. Of course, now it's all about selling video games and anime merch, and it continues to do very well with that. Funny enough, in the over 30 years of it being here, Hot Topic has went from the edgy alternative lifestyle store to the fun pop culture store. Interesting how that works. The people running Hot Topic must have been in those old AOL chat forums too, because during its mid-2000s emo phase, they'd start selling merchandise for the Christmas Halloween fantasy, Nightmare Before Christmas. And given how Hot Topic, known for being a store in the mall, a place known for having lots of teenagers and young adults at the time, was now selling merchandise inspired from this unique emo-looking cult film, it was the perfect matchup. Popularity of both Hot Topic and Nightmare Before Christmas completely skyrocketed during the 2000s. And while Tim Burton was adamant about not giving Disney a sequel, there were still toys, clothes, comics, board games, card games, and gifts all being made from this one movie. An official Nightmare Before Christmas video game was published in 2004 and 2005 for PS2 and Xbox.
Oogie's Revenge.
It would serve as a low-key sequel to Nightmare in the form of a video game. Produced by Capcom, it was more or less a Japanese fan game, completely outside the jurisdiction of Disney. And while making the game for PS2, the developers flew out to Tim Burton himself to show it to him and receive any criticism. They ended up with pretty solid advice for how this game should look. It didn't have the best reception as a video game at this time, being ranked overall a 6 out of 10, but its existence alone is proof of just how popular this 10-year-old movie was worldwide. Japan had also produced a Game Boy Advance game around the same time called The Pumpkin King. Ever since Tim Burton turned down Disney's initial consideration for a sequel, they've surely been feeling some type of way, because they've been watching the popularity of the movie and its characters, Jack Skellington, his love interest Sally, and even Oogie Boogie, the villain, all get worldwide famous without being able to profit from it how they'd like. Disney seems to only really get credit from the one movie they produced that doesn't even really have their name on it. I know it's complicated with licensing and all that, but there is no way Disney is profiting off of the popularity like they want to. With the help of Japan, Disney was able to use these characters more through Kingdom Hearts.
Sora, Donald, and Goofy!
But without Tim Burton actually wanting to make new content for the series, all Disney can do is allow the characters to be used here and there. Re-release the movie in 3D, Blu-ray, 4K, play the music at a Halloween concert or Christmas concert, making a Nightmare Halloween ride at Disneyland with some official merch. That's pretty much all the ideas Disney has for this brand. 30 years after the initial release of Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's just as popular as it ever was, and Disney is still scratching their heads, trying to play catch up, wondering why they don't have more control over it. Since the 2010s, it's gone beyond Disney. They'll have their official Disney merch available, but none of that started popping up until Disney saw how successful it was with Hot Topic sales and overseas. At this point, you don't even need Hot Topic or Disney to find Nightmare merch. I found some at my local grocery store. Disney owns Nightmare Before Christmas, the movie, but they don't understand it. Even when Tim Burton tried to explain it with all his credibility in 1990, they didn't understand it. They know it's a quirky Halloween musical that talks about Christmas, but it's more than that. It's a story about the overlooked, underappreciated, neglected underdog seeking out justice, tolerance, and love, a seat at the table. So many people can relate to this story. The music director, Danny Elfman, even said he had a lot in common with Jack. It hits on a level that both kids and adults can understand, and to this day, that's something Disney has a hard time trying to create. One big thing Nightmare has going for itself that Disney does nothing with is that it's not just a Halloween movie or Christmas movie. It can actually be used for all holidays, and that's something that regular stores are starting to take advantage of. So with a little creativity, you can see how versatile this brand can be. Right off the bat, you have Nightmare Before Christmas Valentine's Day merchandise featuring Jack and Sally. Easy. There's an Easter bunny at some point, Jack with Easter eggs. And why not give him a St. Patty's Day hat or some gloves for Boxing Day? 20 years after Hot Topic started selling Nightmare merch, they're still coming up with new stuff to sell featuring these characters. There aren't many brands out there that only has one movie and 0 TV shows to its name that can stand the test of time like this. This long-lasting popularity it's had is like a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. Cause without Burton, we will never see a sequel. Doesn't matter how badly Disney or the former director may want one. And this is actually Nightmare's main appeal, whether people realize it or not. Despite how different or weird it is, it's pure. You're not getting any more out of it. It's a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and should just be appreciated for what it is. It's a rarity. Despite being corporately produced, it belongs to the people. The fans. And Disney really has no bearings on that. Really, because they were scared to take a chance on it to begin with. They don't deserve Nightmare's success. Nightmare Before Christmas is considered one of the greatest animated films of all time. And it's a shame that Disney, who could be seen as the grandfather of all Western animation, couldn't see that coming. Well, thanks for making it this far. If you want, like and subscribe to Retro Sick for more random nostalgia and interesting coincidences surrounding said nostalgia. And I will see you in the next one.